If you're wondering how I feel about it, I'll tell you right now. I think Jimmy needs to make a reply. Like, he technically doesn't need to. He uploaded a YouTube video and it got 120 million views, and he could probably continue to upload videos without ever replying and continue to get hundreds of millions of views. But I won't be able to support him. I won't support him in any way, shape, or form if that's what he does, because I think he needs to reply specifically to why he hired a sex offender. Like, how did that happen? That's a crazy thing to do with a guy who runs a channel that is primarily targeted towards children. You know?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's your favorite part-time YouTuber, Crow, and we need to keep talking about that time Jimmy, MrBeast, hired a registered sex offender, not only to work as a manager, but also featuring him in multiple videos involving kids, because I think it's starting to have a lot of impact. When Ludwig, the guy that refused to cross MrBeast, was even fighting with his own chat about how he had no intention to talk about this stuff, it's getting to a point where it is impossible to deny that Jimmy has behaved in immoral, depraved, deviant, and disgusting ways involving children. And there's no denying, like, there really is no denying that Jimmy was not on very good terms with the pedophile registered sex offender known as Delaware, who is, again, Jake Franklin's brother-in-law. We'll get back to that in just a second here, because when you're buying this guy a brand new house and brand new items, you're basically setting him up with luxury after knowing what he did to an 11-year-old child. I can't. Like, I absolutely can't.
We got clearance from her brother and her husband, so we should be good. We're gonna destroy everything in this house and then replace it with new, better, more expensive things. Basically give her a home makeover.
Oh my God, surprise her. Like, what? Your wife's in Connecticut. This is actually perfect. What if we literally trashed everything again and then we replaced the house?
So yeah, like he's clearly very excited for that time. MrBeast, like, how much did you spend here, right? Because it like had to be a few $100,000s at a bare minimum. What you did, you got this guy a brand new home. You set him up with all this new equipment at that home for a YouTube video, right? Which that YouTube video is going to be targeted at children. What the fuck was going on here, right? Like, it pisses me off. And honestly, we can't let the fact go that Jake the Viking, Jake Franklin, was fully aware of everything that his brother-in-law had done and was still like, okay, so here's the thing. Keemstar made a tweet, and you know, obviously the tweet's a little bit erroneous, but at the same time, it's kind of not. When he goes, Jake flew a 17-year-old out known as Nathan, the guy that says, you know, I was groomed by Chris Tyson. This same kid, you flew out to your home, right? Like, you god damn. And the kid is admitting that he met Delaware multiple times, right? This is what I mean by MrBeast having this open channel for kids who then get invited to meet out with other people who have abused minors, who have predilections towards minors. We know that Nathan was a huge fan of MrBeast, which is how he was put in this situation with god damn, it's so frustrating, right? MrBeast, even if you want to say Jimmy himself, it has no attraction to minors, right? Even though we see him in the Discord server, even though we see him chatting up minors, right? The fact of the matter is, Jimmy's channel is targeted at kids. Jimmy makes this content with the intent of targeting children. And then on top of that, you have no barrier for Chris Tyson, who shows a clear attraction to minors. You show no barrier for your manager, who you feature in videos, who actually assaulted a child. What the fuck was going on? And I've got to say, Jake Franklin's response to this stuff really starts to piss me off, okay? Because Jake tries to deflect from this and go, oh, I mean, no, I didn't. I flew him out because he was going to be in a video. He was going to be in a video with us. At the same time, the kid is saying, no, I met Delaware multiple times when I was 17. 17. When he was 17, he was flown out to do a video with MrBeast, right? To hang out with Jake Franklin, okay? And look here, Nate and I were friends. He was also friends with with my ex, and I invited him down for a ghost hunt with your narrator and the Battleship North Carolina with the permission of his parents. Good try, bud. Oh, don't believe me? How does this address anything? Okay? Well, like, your response is, well, we flew out the kid so he could be in a video. Okay. And the kid is saying when he was 17, the same time you flew him out for this video, he was meeting up with Delaware multiple times. Multiple fucking times!
Jake the Viking, you're not answering my question, so let me ask again and let me be direct. In 2020, when you flew the 17-year-old Nathan to your house, did you introduce the 17-year-old to the registered sex offender, Delaware? Answer, please.
Now, I don't want to give Keemstar a W because I've already talked about how Keemstar has been running this barrier to keep Jimmy's name out of this stuff, right? And even in this conversation he's having with Jake the Viking, I see almost like zero mention, zero condemnation of MrBeast and his involvement in this stuff, and how really it is Jimmy that is giving access to children for these files known as Chris Tyson and fucking Delaware, right? But he's right. He is correct. Jake Franklin, absolutely. Let me just show you this, right? Because a lot of people are pointing this out. During the time Chris Tyson was being called out, Jake was all in, right? Taking shot after shot after shot after shot. And even I was like, look, man, look, Jake Franklin's calling this stuff up and pointing out he clearly knew, he clearly was absolutely aware. But at the exact same time, Jake Franklin knew for a fact that there was a registered sex offender working for MrBeast, and he covered that stuff up because it was family. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What the fuck is going on? How many more people were sexually abused by the MrBeast crew? How many more kids were introduced to Chris Tyson and Delaware by the MrBeast crew? It's at the point where even Ludwig is forced to call it out when he was doing his damnedest to defend MrBeast. It is frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating. And it seems like the longer this goes on, the deeper this rabbit hole goes. You know, we have Dogpack 404. He's done 2 videos so far. The first video exposed the absolutely depraved and amoral thought process of the MrBeast team as they basically condition minors to defend them, get them hooked on illegal lotteries and gambling for kids. The second video exposes the fact that MrBeast treats his own people like human trash as he causes them intense psychological trauma. We've got the MrBeast games, which is enforcing that fact that these competitions are screwed the fuck up. And then on top of that, we now find out that, there was a registered sex offender working as a manager for MrBeast, featured in multiple videos, including one where MrBeast bought him a brand new fucking house. Jake the Franklin is a goddamn liar, right? Because in his first statement, when it was outed that yes, there was a registered sex offender, his fucking brother-in-law, his response was, oh, well, listen, we had to feature him in some videos sometimes because, we just didn't have enough people for these videos. Really, motherfucker? So why'd you buy him a fucking home? Why did Jimmy buy him a goddamn house if he was just a manager and they just had to occasionally feature him because they didn't have enough people? Why the fuck was one of these videos buying the fucking pedophile a goddamn house? What was that about? Right, Jake the Viking? You absolute creep. You absolute creep. You don't get to do this, right? Oh, Jimmy knew the entire time. The silence is deafening. What about your silence, right? What about your silence? You knew the entire time. You knew the entire fucking time, and you covered it up. This is what I mean by I think MrBeast shouldn't have a YouTube channel. When I say that, I know nothing is gonna stop it, right? Because YouTube is desperate for the money. They're doing everything that they can to help Jimmy cover this stuff up and give him ample amounts of defense for the absolute heinous actions that he has done, because it is clear to me at this point that there is no denying Jimmy not only knew, but attempted to cover this stuff up. That other people who seemed like they were on the right side of this stuff, and then it turns out, no, they were involved in like the biggest cover up here, right? Trying to hyper focus on Chris Tyson, while ignoring the fact that there was a registered sex offender working for MrBeast. He shouldn't have a YouTube channel, right? His YouTube channel is targeted at kids, and it is clear to me at this point that he put kids in harm's way, that multiple minors were put in harm's way. A 17-year-old was introduced. Like, here's the thing. He's a registered sex offender. He cannot be introduced to kids. The police should be called, right? Because I hear about like Jake Franklin going, oh, we're trying to expunge that record. We're trying to get that record expunged. Really? Really? You're trying to expunge the record of a pedophile registered sex offender at the exact same time that pedophile registered sex offender is being introduced to kids through MrBeast. Yeah, I think that Jake the Viking, Jake Franklin, pedophile defender, brother-in-law to a pedophile registered sex offender, I think the police need to be contacted. And I'm not kidding. I think we need to contact the police, point out the fact that we have children who are stating that the registered sex offender was being introduced to them. That's a fucking crime. The police need to be involved. People need to be arrested. And Jimmy needs to be put under investigation. Maybe you guys disagree with me. Like, I understand that I'm going like on this one track that people aren't comfortable with because they love the charity work that Jeffrey Epstein did. Oh, sorry, that Jimmy does. They love that charity work, so they're willing to excuse this behavior. I do not care. Your content is targeted at kids. There are children that you were flying down. There were kids that you were featuring. And at the exact same time, you knew that he was a registered sex offender. You know that that's a violation. You know that's a fucking crime. You should be in prison too. Fuck you.